Hello everyone, Jim Needham here. I kind of want to read a statement to you before we go into the art that I have created. And I believe in line, form, color, and texture. Now I've written this all out so I won't stumble over my words. So this is my writing and my ideas. I believe that line, form, color, and texture are the backbone of creative art. These elements of design carry the composition or arrangements of the objects or subject matter in the picture. In my work, I like bright colors. I also refuse to stick to just one style. In my work, I explore old and classic cars, interesting women, and in adventurous activities, surrealism, landscapes, abstract styles. I try to make my art interesting. I want the viewer to stop and look and possibly purchase my art. I believe that my prices are very reasonable and lower than many artworks that I've seen in art shows. Of course, I will continue to do art until my dying day because the urge to create is within me. Okay, these landscapes here, this is a landscape, but it also has surrealistic possibilities, as you can see the title here. And Moonlight Madness, Crash Fire. Now on this particular one here, and both are acrylic. When I was growing up in Mapleton, Kansas, my father was a truck driver and worked for the county. He also built fences for farmers. And I remember helping him build fences. And Mapleton is in southeast Kansas on K-31 highway, about 20 miles from Fort Scott, Kansas. Well, anyway, I would help him build the fence using hedge posts. And of course, you use a stretcher to stretch the wire. And then you always have the corner post. The corner post would always be thicker because to go a different direction so that the fence would hold up and the cattle wouldn't push it over. Hello again, folks. I want to talk about my car pictures. I've always had an interest in antique and classic cars, and Model A Fords, of course, always been popular. And when I was in high school back in the early to mid 60s, you could buy a Model A Ford for $300 and $400, and so my brother and I were going to do that, and our dad, to him it was just an old car. He would help us buy a 10-year-old car, but he thought a Model A was too old. But anyway, so I get my ideas for a lot of these cars from car calendars that I keep through the years and refer to them, the photograph on the calendar, to as inspiration, as a guide to do the artwork. This Lincoln LeBaron, that was on a car calendar, and I thought that would be a good subject matter to paint, so I went ahead with that. The 1949 Buick, I always liked the fastback style to the 49 Buick, and they were very popular in their day, in the late 40s, early 50s. Here we have a collage, different cars that I cut out from newspapers and magazines, and different arrangements. And who's driving the 1957 Chevrolet convertible? That's Jeff Bridges. That's Lloyd Bridges' youngest son. He was born in 1949. And that picture of him when he was in his 20s, so I thought that was pretty neat, so I put that in there. Here we have the Mapleton Gambler, and he really existed. He was born around 1885. He was one of the town characters of Mapleton, Kansas, where I grew up. And he owned the farm, but in the wintertime, he'd go play cards. He'd go to Springfield or Kansas City or Joplin, anywhere he could find a card game. And he was quite good at it and made a lot of, made a pretty good amount of money playing cards. And here we have, they're in the wilderness, and this cabin is in the wilderness, and they're enjoying fishing and swimming and outdoor activities. And the inspiration for this was, I had a cousin, first cousin who lived in Pueblo, Colorado, and he had a cabin at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, and it kind of reminded me of that, kind of a getaway place for people to go to get out of town or the city and enjoy the great outdoors. Hello folks, again I want to talk about my art, and here we have my abstract works, and they have elements of surrealism in them also. Escaping Nukes was inspired by the huge nuclear accident that happened in Japan, I think back in 2011 or a few years ago. And when I did it, that's what I had in mind about the nuclear disaster and how terrible that was. And of course, we all remember what happened in 2020 with the C virus and all of that, coronavirus. So it has elements of surrealism in there, and we all know what happened in 2020. And so I was inspired to do the work to kind of reflect that year, which threw everything out of kilter, and everything had to go virtual and all that. Coast to Coast AM, I used to listen to that on the radio at night. And Art Bell was the host of that radio program, and he was always talking about the quickening. And he was a Vietnam War veteran. He was born in 1945, and he died in 2003. And he died before his time. I don't know what happened to him, but George Norrie does Coast to Coast AM now. But anyhow, I was inspired by the quickening. He's always talking about it, so I said, I'm going to do a painting of the quickening. And so I'm quite proud of that work of art, and it's acrylic. And here we have the end. And when I did the painting, I wasn't even thinking about the end or anything like that. But after it was finished, I looked at it and I said, well, there's the water, and there's the big explosion, and there's the debris in the background and whatever. So that's one of my favorite paintings. And so that pretty much wraps up Jim Needham's artwork, and I want to thank everyone.